It being 10:30, I'd like to call the regular meeting of the Great Lafourche Port Commission of March 14th, 2018 to order. Mr. Randy Adams, you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, please.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I'd like to thank you for being here. Remind you, please turn down your cell phones. Next is roll call. Mr. Sheremy.
Thank you, Mr. President. First, we have Seat A, Chucky Sheremy here. Seat B, Perry Gisclair.
Here.
Seat C, Chris Godet.
Here.
Seat D, Rodney Gisclair.
Here.
Seat E, Curtis Pierce.
Here.
Seat F, Larry Griffin.
Here.
Seat G, John Melisson.
Here.
Seat H, Jimmy Guidry.
He's out with the flu, Mr. Sheremy.
All right, thank you, sir. And seat I, Mr. Bruce.
Here.
We have a quorum, Mr. President.
Thank you very much, Mr. Shereby. Next is consider approval of the minutes of the February 7, 2018 regular meeting and February 21st, 2018 special meeting.
Move.
Moved by Mr. Griffin, second by Mr. Melisson. Any discussion? Any public comment? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Next is Executive Director's report. Mr. Shelson.
Thank you, Mr. President. First on the agenda is our Northern Expansion projects. Northern Expansion GLF Site 625 improvements. Angelette Piciola. Mr. Larry Piciola.
This project is complete. We have the lien-free certificate is on the agenda later to approve the lien-free certificate. So this project is complete.
Okay.
Total cost.
Any questions? What's the, you have the total cost on the project?
No, not.
Okay. All right. We'll update at the next meeting.
Yeah, it was a deduct
Right.
of about 50-something thousand.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Larry.
All right. Northern Expansion Slip C 939 West Bulkhead.
Okay, the contract on this project is sea level. They are working on putting in the tie rods and lightweight aggregate. I did talk to Richard Rowe, the owner, and they plan on completing by the completion date, which is April 22nd. That project is going smooth.
Any questions?
Okay. Northern Expansion Slip C 939 foot west sweep dredging.
That project, the contracts were signed by the port and the contractor. We're going to get them recorded, and then we'll have a pre-construction meeting to begin work. But he cannot begin work until sea level's finished. So that's about a month away. So we're in position now that as soon as sea level is done, he can move in and start dredging.
Any questions?
Davey had a comment.
That construction project on that site work, the total was $879,613 on that site work project. That does not include the dredging.
Yep. Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Larry.
Okay, Northern Expansion Slip C 1,671 foot east bulkhead, Piciola and Associates. Joe.
Crosby's the contractor right now. They're driving piles for the dead men, and they're driving steel sheets for the bulkhead. They're also coating bulkhead sheets. They are on schedule. They've done 16 out of the 26 deadman piles, and they've got like 740 feet of bulkhead in right now. So everything is going well so far.
Okay. Any questions for Joe? Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, mitigation dredge of Slip D, J. Wayne Plaisance. John.
Good morning. Crosby Dredge is the contractor on this project as well. They are still blowing and going. They should be finished in the mitigation area of Rappelais Pond in the next week or so. They're a little bit behind schedule, but we haven't had consideration of any weather days yet, so they're going to be pretty close to finishing on time.
All right.
So they're going to be finishing Rappelais Pond in the next week or so, and then they're going to move to the northern flotation canal site.
And Davey, all of our levees
Levees are in place.
in place. Okay.
Any questions for John?
Thank you.
Thank you, John.
Thank you, John. Moving on to airport projects. Richard.
Okay, the airport operations for February were pretty good. 2,085 operations, 8,827 passengers, 6,620 vehicles. Year-to-date total, 4,293 operations, 18,153 passengers, and 14,081 operations. The taxiway lighting and runway LED upgrades, I talked to the contractor yesterday. He should have between 60 and 80 cubic yards of concrete being poured today. He's able to get it from Lafourche up the bayou a little bit. So they're continuing to move right ahead and do a pretty good job. Any questions?
When's their projected end date?
I think they're supposed to be finished in before the summer starts. So I think it's May. Yeah, May sounds right, something like that. There is some rain days and there's some cold weather days. That's gonna affect them, but they shouldn't. They're pretty close to the schedule.
Thank you.
Anything else?
All right. Thank you, Richard. Okay, other projects. First is the Section 203 feasibility study, GIS engineering. They're busy working on our study, so they couldn't be here today. But that's moving along very nicely. As we talked about Monday, we have some minor delays because of some questions we got from some of the resource agencies, like U.S. Fish and Wildlife and that sort of thing. But as we get those questions now, before the actual public commenting period, it's going to, we won't have any further delays during that period. So it's actually delaying us slightly, but it's not as long as delaying us later during the comment period. We're still on track with, that's for the EIS stuff, the environmental stuff. So we're still on track to have a full package ready to submit to the Assistant Secretary of the Army's office in Washington by June, July timeframe. Any questions on that? Okay, LA 308 Airport Access Improvements, Piciola and Associates. Joe.
Last night, the council did approve the right-of-ways for moving the road and the water district right-of-way. So once those documents are signed and recorded, we'll forward that to EDA. Everything should be in place after that is done, and we'll be able to go out for bid.
Okay. Good. Okay.
Thank you, Joe.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And Fouchon Bridge Removal Project.
The Tidewater Docks, the contractor, they've removed all of the bridge span or approach span on the south side. They have removed most of these piles. They're working on removing the remainder of these piles on the south side and also the bridge fender system. And they're starting to pre-cut on the bridge span itself. And the next thing to come out is they're gonna start taking the bridge span out in pieces.
Okay. All right. And for the general public watching here and in the audience, just to remind everybody that both the LA 308 Airport Access Improvements Project and the Fouchon Bridge Removal Project are parish projects, but we certainly monitor the progress of those two. Just want to make that clear.
Thank you.
Thank you, Joe. And the LA1 Phase 2 Leeville Mitigation Dredge Project, Angelette Piciola. Mr. Larry.
Yes, this project is ongoing. Magnolia Dredging and Docks are the contractors. They have probably 4 or 5 days left to finish. I'm in the process of trying to schedule a meeting for either Tuesday or Wednesday next week, where we're going to go out with DNR, ConocoPhillips, who's the landowner, and the port, to look at a couple areas that they rode on with marsh buggies that they got to repair, to make sure that everybody's happy before they do the work. And then once they do the work, we'll meet out there again.
Okay.
Any question?
Would that apply to their completion time doing the repairs, or their completion time would stop, and then the repairs would be additional days?
I think they would just, once they complete, the time would stop.
Stop, and then they would go do their repairs?
Do the repairs.
Okay.
Correct.
Thank you.
Yeah. They got to the end of the month,
All
so
right.
they'll finish.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Larry. Okay, update from the LA1 Coalition. Henri Boulet.
Good morning. Segment E of the LA1 project is on track for official construction by James Construction Group starting by May 26, with the contractor having 422 working days to complete the build-out. James Construction Group is expecting to work on the 390-foot northern extension first, then the widening of the existing bridge structure after. The coalition continues to work with our supporters toward securing additional funds that would be needed to complete the project all the way up to Golden Meadow. And in providing you an update on traffic counts on LA1, traffic increased 3.85% over last year's February, for this year's February. And there have been 3 increases in traffic over the last 5 months. So 3 out of 5 months had increases. The revenue as well has increased 41% over last year in February. And we have seen 5 increases in revenue over the last 6 months. So that kind of correlates with the traffic increase. The 41% increase in February revenue is a big spike, but it's partially due to the increased large truck traffic that DOTD has noted. And 72% of our current traffic is 2-axle vehicles, with the remainder of the traffic accounting for 28%. The total traffic count for the month of February was 76,700 vehicles, with a daily average of 2,740 vehicles. So any questions?
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Henri. Okay, we have an update from Tim Osborne with NOAA. Where's Tim? There he is.
He was hiding.
Yeah. They're hiding from us, Tim? Thank you for being here.
The federal bureaucrat gets to sit over on the side. It's like the kind of thing. All right, we're going to talk about 2017 hurricane response season and also the upcoming lessons we learned in 2018. I would like to actually preface this by saying all the work and all the lessons you've learned and put into place from both Hurricane Katrina, Rita, Ike, Gustav, Isaac, Deepwater Horizon, all those things are really paying off in terms of what we see across the entire Gulf Coast. This is actually, the background is actually a picture of that drill ship you saw a lot on the national news that was in Corpus Christi. It was actually it was a Paragon drill ship being decommissioned, being held in by 2 tugs. It broke its moorings, pushed the tugs back into a bunch of other rigs, crushed one tug, sank it, so you had 6, 7 guys huddled on a sunken tugboat at the bow for 8 hours while the storm went right over them. Another one of the tugboats got crunched, but actually staggered its way to the dock. 6 or 7 guys got off, huddled underneath a bunch of big wind turbine fan blades until they basically hijacked a pickup truck. I think they jimmied it and hot wired it, and they got the heck out of there. But sustained winds, Corpus Christi, Port Aransas of over 135 miles an hour. Cat 4 that we gave you a warning of about 24 hours before actual landfall. It started 72 hours. It was like, oh, we got this minor tropical system. It might make landfall as a strong tropical storm, maybe a strong Cat 1. 18 hours before landfall, the thing just exploded into a Cat 4. And it was just enormous in terms of the impact over. The next slide. I can do this. You want to do this? Don't want to hurt your fishing pole. So, and by the way, my sister-in-law, the math teacher over in Gulf Breeze High School, wants to wish every one of you a happy Pi Day. So, so I knew you were waiting for that one. 2017 was the second busiest hurricane season in recorded history by the National Weather Service Hurricane Center. 4 landfalls of 4 major hurricanes. Everyone know what a major is? It's Cat 3, 4, or 5. And we had 4 of them making landfall in either the Trust Territories or continental United States. The Hurricane Katrina season was the busiest on record, still stands today. However, The most damaging hurricane season was 2017. It dwarfed the Katrina season. We have over $300 billion worth of damage from 2017 across that entire array and region, which essentially is almost triple the amount we saw with the Hurricane Katrina season. Population-wise, in America, the demographics are true. They're moving to the coast. Number one fastest growing state in America, anyone know what it is? It's Texas. Number two fastest growing state in America, Florida. Florida, 1,000 new residents in the state of Florida every day. So between the 2017 hurricane season, the 2018 hurricane season, we will have 800,000 new residents on the Gulf Coast. We will have a lot more infrastructure and industry, and the majority of all motor fuels, all gasoline burnt in the state of Florida, guess how it gets into the state? Ships. Guess where those ships are coming from? They're coming from the Mississippi River, Marathon Refinery, all the other ones there, or they're coming from Citgo and Conoco on Port of Lake Charles, Calcasieu Ship Channel, or they're coming out of the Houston-Galveston complex. So we are burning 26 million gallons of gasoline on average every day in the state of Florida, and the majority of it is being supplied by Louisiana and Texas. You got a little bit of, Pascagoula, a little bit of Mobile, but the bulk of it, we are feeding Florida by ships and maritime. And Port Tampa alone has a huge Marathon terminal right there. They supply 41% of all gasoline being brought in by ship. So the connection is incredibly important. So the recovery of this area is actually critical not only for the country, but directly looking right across at the state of Florida with 19, soon to be 20 million residents, all of them sucking down 26 million gallons of gasoline. Well over half of it has to be provided by ship itself. This is, I'll get into Houston because I was there when the rains hit and everything like this, but this is one of the nightmare scenarios here. Hurricane Irma, beelining, right there is a Cat 5, right into the state of Florida. Originally, it was looking to track right into Miami. Poorest city in America, let's get past New Orleans. The poorest city in America is not New Orleans. The poorest city in America, metropolitan area, is Miami-Dade area. 6 million people, and they all essentially have almost very little preparation for hurricane response, because apart from Hurricane Andrew in 1992, they really haven't had anything. And in part, the state of Florida, apart from Matthew brushing by in 2016, where I was in Cape Canaveral at the port there, the previous hurricane that they'd really been threatened with was back in 2004. So this is a population of people have not been through hurricanes. Then you add 1,000 a day, and that makes it even worse. Then you have the highest percentage of senior citizens in America being located in the state of Florida with a median age of 63, and then you have 800,000 mobile homes all sitting there, essentially waiting to be ripped apart by any one of these hurricane events. And you can see this is the nightmare scenario. And you'll see the track dodged Miami, went down through the Keys, National Weather Service, Key West office, stayed at work. Their entire staff was there in the building when that thing went right over them. At periods of time, it had sustained winds of 185 miles an hour. Then it came up and it was going to go along the Gulf Coast and flood out the 4 million people in the Tampa-St. Pete area, but it duck hooked into Naples and went up through the center of the state right over me in Tallahassee, and essentially, stunningly, managed to avoid a major catastrophe. Still, 70,000 square miles of Florida was under tropical storm force winds at one point or another during the storm event. 62% of all households in the state of Florida were without power 1 to 2 days. And all of this was done in terms of coordination with the state of Florida, which literally had not seen this kind of threat in a very long time, and they went into overdrive. I want to make sure that you all understand, we are monitoring, we are looking at the Gulf Coast and state of Louisiana 365 days a year, 24 hours a day. No ifs, ands, or buts. No, all weekends, the whole bit. Chet Chasson knows, Davey and everyone knows. There's only a phone call away to get someone at the desk to tell you if you've got storms, squall lines, tornadoes, You got a tropical wave coming in. You got high water that's going to be closing LA1. We've been on those calls. We've been on the calls with Wendell. We've been on the calls with Reggie Dupre and guys over there in terms of like timing. When's it going to happen? When's it going to come back? Hurricane Patricia coming out of Mexico was a classic, largest hurricane we've seen in recent history, came over here as a remnant, and it still caused a significant flood event that closed LA1. So we're there. So this is actually me at the Weather Service office in Tallahassee, as Key West is basically getting shut down, forcibly shut down, even though they have a Cat 5 building protecting their staff. Other offices like Tampa, West Palm, Miami National Hurricane Center, Cape Coral Gables, and Tallahassee can actually fill in and actually take the place. They will actually take the radar imagery coming from the local radars down there, and they'll actually serve. If all the WFOs below Tampa go blank, we can actually fill in and actually do the work from Tallahassee, from Slidell, other places as well. So in terms of your forecast resources for you, you have a terrifically talented and experienced Port Fourchon administrative staff. They know us very, very well. The only things I'd add is if they ever put in a travel request like, hey, we want to go to Miami and learn about hurricanes. It's for real. It's for real. It's not just South Beach. You know, they want to go to Cape Coral. There's actually courses. We actually offer 2, 3, 4-day seminars at the National Hurricane Center. A lot of GOSEP people have gone and other things like that. That's a great opportunity. Any commission members, you want to learn about this stuff, this is the way to do it, and we actually offer those seminars. You want to go to Slidell for a day and get a soup to nuts tour of just the weather forecast office there. Blink of an eye, not a problem. Just come on up, let us know, and we'll give you the tour across the entire way. Okay. So, Hurricane Harvey. Going to go back to Hurricane Harvey. Cat 4 makes landfall at Aransas, Corpus area, and I've got some pictures. I mean, it just, Corpus dodged it by a hair. It just came in just to the right of Corpus. So all the wind fields and all the surge was going out, 135 miles an hour winds from the north to south out to the Gulf of Mexico. And it was a wild ride, but it did not flood them. Aransas, I've got pictures, shredded them. Large surge event, large flooding. It's a terrain very similar here, very flat. Then you get into that dry hill country, very arid, and they took it right on the chin. However, when I was in Harvey, we got there at the Coast Guard sector, Houston Galveston offices, south side of Houston. We had really set up very much like Port Fourchon down there at the ops center in terms of we're going to get hit, we're going to open the port, what are we going to do? Got everything set, had my assignment, went back to the hotel, which was on a hill, one of the few hills there in South Houston, and as the rains hit, and the rains hit, and the rains hit. Imagine that big, big squall line that comes in and dumps 3 inches an hour. Now take that into hour 2, hour 3, hour 4, hour 5, hour 6, hour 7. I got up the next morning, got down the hill from the hotel heading to the emergency ops center. I have the Suburban with the 4-wheel drive, and there's hundreds of cars littering the roads. They all flooded out. They couldn't move. People abandoned them. Just going down this is the next morning on my way to the sector on the bottom picture. That was day 1. And hundreds of people are just walking out of their apartment complexes, their condos, and their homes. And then day 2 hit, and then day 3 hit. By the end of the Hurricane Harvey event, we actually broke a 50-year-old historic record for a tropical event. Back in the 50s in the Hawaiian Islands, we recorded a 50-inch rainfall event for the tropical storm that hit that Hawaiian island chain during that tropical storm. 2017 Hurricane Harvey, we shattered that record, that 50-year-old record, by 10 inches. We had a 61-inch rainfall event recorded for the Houston area from the Hurricane Harvey experience. Houston, South Houston is just like here. They have no terrain, they have no relief, they have no profiles. In fact, even worse, they had some reservoirs, and you probably heard about day 5, day 6, they had to actually release the reservoirs, and then that flooded even more housing. Public record, published reports from the newspaper show that of all the damage, these people had no wind, but it was a named storm. So you guys know, living down here, hurricane deductibles kick in. Every one of those people living there essentially were told, we're not in a flood zone, you don't need to buy flood insurance. So by the end of this event, the recorded, published records show about 70% of the cost of all damages throughout that Houston area is uninsured. Imagine, I mean, that's just like the August 16 floods up and around the Baton Rouge area. Denham Springs, Livingston Parish, 90% of every structure went underwater. Almost every one of them had no flood insurance because they weren't in a flood zone. So do what I have done for years, dig the $350 of cash out of your wallet, send it into FEMA, get the insurance policy, and keep it in hand. Because I'm at 50 feet of elevation with an enormous amount of storm drains around me in a neighborhood in Lafayette, inside the parish, city proper. And we've never had a threat of flooding, even through the August 2016, except, and Gustav, and we've had all the other hurricanes, except one rainstorm, not a front, not anything like that, came over the house, came over that area. I was at the office over here, and it's raining, it's not bad. Got a call, get home, quick, we've got problems. That one rainstorm dropped over 5 inches of rain in 1 hour, right over top of our house. Literally, with all the storm drains, and the fact the backyard, I've actually, Joe Pisola would be so proud, we actually graded it away from the house to the side yard to a big drain system. That backyard was flooded and coming up through the back door. Just from a rainstorm, just from a thunderstorm that basically came over, stalled. And we've had that number of times. So those are the kind of things. The issue that I want to bring forward is that command center right there was able to then turn from trying to reopen the port of Houston, Galveston, and the Houston Ship Channel and went straight into search and rescue. Same deaths, same people. All of a sudden, we got a new mission. We're taking people off roofs. And the captain of the port isn't talking about like, oh yeah, we're ready to open a Houston, Galveston right now. He's on public television and all the channels saying, do not get into the attics. Do not get into the attics. Swim out of your house, crawl up on the roof so we can get those big guys to fly right over top and actually take. They had helicopters from Bell Chase coming across and going to Houston to basically participate in that SAR mission. So in terms of doing double, triple, quadruple duty, we were all in. And in fact, for a brief period of time, and I was actually chalking on the boards, all right, this helicopter is going here and they're then going to this hospital. So the importance here of incident command centers, and that's Houston, right up on the top right. This is Corpus. Same thing that you have actually done and learned and created. You have an emergency ops center right there at Port Fourchon. It's brand new, it's elevated. We've done the drills just recently and continue, I'm sure, going to do drills. Everyone in the same room, everyone talking. You're being followed and you're having people go to school on you by doing the very similar things. We used some big agricultural exposition center outside of Corpus, way up away from the city. Everyone was there. NOAA was there, Coast Guard was there, salvage contractors were there, spill guys were there dealing with any spills, hazardous materials, U.S. Army Corps of Engineers was there. All you had to do is stand up, look across the table, and you can actually start talking to people. As opposed to some of the other previous cases you've heard, it's like, okay, whose cell phone number is this? And you know, why aren't they answering? And where are they located? This is the lesson you've learned. This is the lesson that everyone else is learning years after you've already put that into place. So whatever you're doing today in terms of maintaining that posture and that use of your emergency ops center and everything and bringing everyone together, you were the first ones, Deepwater Horizon actually brought everyone together at one place at Fourchon outside of the big BP place in Houma. And you did so much better. And no one else really would admit it until finally near the last month of actual response were like, hey, maybe we should put people down at Venice, Louisiana, or maybe we should put people over in Chalmette, or maybe we should people over other places. Storms are not, so vulnerability to storms. This is Aransas, okay? You get hit with a Cat 4, this is what it looks like. No ifs, ands, or buts. You guys need to know that if you are gonna have a storm like that come beelining right into here. There is no amount of how much protection that ops center and anything else is going to give you. You get out of it, okay? You get out, you go up to Baton Rouge, you go east, you go west. This is one of those hurricane or storm-hardened dry stack boat buildings right there in Aransas. This thing was brand new. That's what it looks like after it gets hit with a Cat 4. I mean, I was just thinking, it's like, good God. I mean, there must be like 600 boats in there. And how are they going to piece them together? And where can I find that incredible discounted sale of the bay boat that I need so badly? But it's as bad as that. And it will continue to be as bad as that. And you need to understand, you cannot fight a 12-foot or 14-foot storm surge. You cannot find a place to get inside that's going to withstand 140-mile-an-hour wind fields, because it's not just that. We've got straight line winds that could be peaking up to 200 miles an hour. We have drop down tornadoes that could actually take anything out. I mean, literally anything out. And you being in there is something that you, knowing 24 hours ahead of time that I've got the opportunity to pack my family, my belongings, my important paperwork and everything, and I can actually be out of that zone and then come back in. So what's the goal? Everyone along the Gulf Coast has the same goal. Get on that boat, get that boat to dock, and get the economy back again. There is no other storm season that has not driven home the importance, how important Fourchon is, how important Loop is, how important everyone is. How many remember, how long has it been when the export ban got lifted for exporting crude oil out of America? Anyone know? This is like the biggest deal. It was the end of 2015. So 2016, you probably noticed, was a little slow because we had to get into the market. We had to have, we had to take crude, start running it to the port, start finding ship contracts, start finding contracts overseas to sell it. So you kind of saw that slow ramp coming up on 2016. Guess what 2017 see? It just going through the roof. Corpus Christi, number 4 port in America, and guess what's right behind Port Corpus? The West Texas oil fields and all that crude that they're producing out there. I mean, with that ship loaded with crude, they were surveying it, the bottles of the survey that they were taking out of the tanks, they were looking at it, that crude is so light it almost has the consistency of mineral spirits. So instead of loading heavy crude on a ship, only 500,000 barrels at a time, that same ship with that light enough crude, you can load 750,000 barrels. So the export of crude and energy via LNG is absolutely exploding. You just saw Loop took first big super tanker out to China. You're going to see more of that. You've got LNGs coming online. You're proposing your own LNG. You got your environmental impact statement going. Is it 50 that you're going to? Going to 50. This is all stuff that you've already put into place and other people are following. Port Corpus is actually now talking about going to 50 for bringing in super tankers rather than these small 700 and 800 footers. LNG terminals. I was just in Port of Lake Charles yesterday speaking to them. They've got the big Cheniere, Cameron LNG in Hackberry, $10 billion in the making that's going to open within the next 12 months. That's going to start sending out LNG exports out over to overseas markets. So we're going to see an entire boom coming to Louisiana of exporting, not so much, and we still got refining, and we still got production, and we've got a couple of the big deep water finds that we're going to be, really developing as well. So that diversity should hopefully be welcome for, in so many ways, in terms of our economy and the Gulf Coast economy. But getting those ships back, finding the hazards like this, putting it off to one side and opening that channel is the goal. And this is the thing. Now, we may not be seeing this kind of bad boy in the Fourchon area, but finding the debris, finding the hazards, marking it. What?
Not yet.
Not yet. Not yet, said the guy in the most colorful suit at the...
Thank you very much. Everybody needs an ugly suit. It's ugly suit day for Chet.
And no one actually said anything. That's what I was just like...
Oh, they thought it, though. They thought it.
Okay.
He got his conversation
Not yet.
already.
but soon. And so the issue is, we identify it, we get it off to one side, we get traffic open, and then right at the same time, we had our survey boats in the area. We actually then allowed the contractor, the salvage contractor, to pull it away. They were worried it was going to sink because that thing was ripped up pretty good. But they managed to actually tow it out of the way, and then we surveyed the bottom right underneath it, found out that it crunched a big concrete pier and research dock. And we found out after about 2 or 3 days of this thing sitting on that concrete gets really small. So it was flat. There was no real hazards after that. And then they can do cleanup. So making sure that we're all working together is really critical. Everyone on your Edison boats, on your Danos boats, everyone is going with this, electronic navigation. This is one of the most important keys, and I want to bring up to Port Fourchon about this. If you see the bottom right or you see the upper left's Tampa, bottom right is Corpus. There's the pilots moving ships. They're moving ships just like the bay boats today with those nice Garmins and Ray Marines and everything. Same people making the same thing. Our charts are on those displays. And if you see those various dots, those are the aids to navigation. This is the next thing I was going to bring up, in the fact that a lot of times when we're closed, like Fourchon and others, we have all these buoys and all these aids. They're gone. The captain of the port is saying, we can't open. I mean, you don't even know how to get in. U.S. Coast Guard, for the first time in Corpus, brought in a mobile field unit and actually through the AIS actually sent out and broadcast virtual aids to navigation, replacing the sea buoys. The buoys are gone. So on the AIS system, which you see on these displays, they actually put virtual buoys out there that then reopen the port, because then not only on the chart, on the electronic chart, you could see where the buoys were, but then you could see the virtual buoys on top of that. So we were able to not have that 2 to 3 day downtime, have to have an ant team come in and reestablish buoys and put piles and everything like that. We can actually put these virtual buoys and aids to navigation in and reopen Fourchon using that mobile system. So we need to talk to the Coast Guard. We need to talk about those kind of rapid reopenings of actually establishing literally a virtual aid to navigation system with these mobile units and get traffic moving as well. So the metrics really are, Captain of the Port, I need to make sure the channels are okay, or if they're not okay, what depth can I allow the ships to come in? And I need to have the road map, or I need to have the aids to navigation established that I can get them in safely saying that they're using these aids. Well, we can use virtual aids. We use the mobile survey teams. We do a rapid assessment of the channel. We look for where the hazards may be. We put the virtual aids in place, and we all of a sudden have a port that can function again. Maybe limited for a while, maybe daylight only, maybe one way in, one way out, but we're working it. And then day 2, day 3 even gets better. The other thing this is it. This is me leaving Corpus with a load of crude. Same thing. That guy walks in literally with a tough pad, puts it on the thing, and that's the navigation system. He takes an 800-footer out going overseas to market. These mobile portable pilot units are where everyone is going right now. They're getting better, they're getting more robust, and they're able for us to have a system that we know we can work with. If we can have that system showing these virtual aids, if we can have that system showing how we could put an AIS buoy, hazard buoy on a sunken wreck, saying avoid this sunken wreck, then we can literally talk to pilots and ship captains almost in real time, saying, I found a sunken shrimp boat just on the edge of E-slips as you're coming out. So we can put literally a wreck buoy, virtual wreck buoy on that wreck and have everyone knowing that they have to go around. Plus you've got broadcast notice to mariners, plus you've got Port Fourchon Harbor Police, and it's this whole layer of things that we can be talking about. The other thing too is our NOAA survey teams. We have brand new crew, brand new boats, and these are the ugliest boats ever. I mean, these things are just
Second the motion.
Huh?
I second the motion.
Yeah, thank you very much for that, Perry. But they work, and all of a sudden, the start of the hurricane season, the entire crew of brand new people, brand new boats, both Gulf and the nation, all of a sudden get the word like, you are now welcome to hell, because not only are you learning the job and learning the boat, but now you're going to be on the road. These guys went all the way from South Texas through Houston, over into Florida, and back into Pensacola, Gulfport, and that's just one of 5 that we're working. Now they're home base. We got one in Stennis, we got one over in New Jacksonville, we got one in Houston, and on top of that, in doing it, we run multi-beam and side scan. So we can cover the imagery very thoroughly in terms of looking at the bottom. And so when we're talking about massive amounts of waterways and channels, and all the ATONs are gone, we're out there saying what ATONs are missing, and we're making the report, we're surveying. But we also need local partners like U.S. Army Corps of Engineers. We need their survey boats. We also need big boats. One of the big issues was the offshore of the sea buoy, the bar. And we actually ran into problems because we had contracts, just didn't have the money, and we had a FEMA mission assignment, but FEMA says, I don't know what you're talking about, and they wouldn't grant us a mission assignment to essentially bring out 150 and 180 foot survey boats. In fact, years ago, we had the McCall out here that was working for CNC Technology for us, and that is a perfect boat because that thing can handle offshore seas. But what we're talking about in the future is having more funds held in reserve to bring the bigger boats. And in the Houston-Galveston experience, it wasn't necessarily that we needed to have big boats, just that there was no place on shore that we could support crew. So we brought an 82-foot catamaran in from Gulfport. 10 guys made their own water, self-sufficient for 10 days at a time. And they were able to beam off the survey results with their both with either a cell phone or with their sat phone connections, and what turned into what was supposed to be a 2-3 day job doing the outer parts of Houston Ship Channel, Galveston Pass, turned into 10 days because the Corps kept saying we don't have a field crew that can get there, keep going up the channel. So we surveyed a lot of post-Harvey channels for the Houston-Galveston area with a self-standing large survey boat. And that's one of the things that we need to be talking about here too. There are going to be areas we need your help. And doing so, the first ones on the water is you hear about Coast Guard being out on the water, but who's the first ones on the water out here? It's Harbor Police. Harbor Police, with their boats, are usually one of the first that are out here actually doing channel assessments. Pilots on the big boat, on the big harbors and things, this is a 70-footer in Port Tampa. We're talking to them now about equipping their boats with side scan and single beam survey equipment, so we bring a crew. We don't have to bring a boat, we don't have to bring a trailer, we don't have to bring trucks. We just bring the crew to them. We put the equipment on board in a matter of like 3 or 4 hours, and all of a sudden we have a state-of-the-art survey boat working the port, just like we could Miami-Dade. This is Miami-Dade Sheriff's Department, and this is a boat very similar to the Port Fourchon Harbor Police. So we had our mobile survey team, we had all the survey equipment sitting there ready to go in Mobile, Alabama for Irma. Didn't know where it's going. We were up there at the Mobile airport with the U.S. Coast Guard ATC Center, and they're trying to figure out how to get to Miami because Miami's going to take it on the chin. I talked to District 8 Coast Guard Command here, and I said, hey, we got a crew that needs to get to Miami. How do you think we can do that? They said, let's talk to D7. D7 covers Florida. D7 came back on a text message, said, where are they? Mobile, ATC, the Coast Guard Mobile Aircraft Center at the Mobile Airport. They said, okay, here's their number. Here's the number for the guy, our Coast Guard guy there. Call, make plans. We're flying you down on the C-130. The night that the storm went past, later that night, as the storm was already past, C-130 took off with our guys, flew around it, went into Miami. We got a Miami-Dade Sheriff's boat that offered up their opportunity to put our survey equipment. We did a day and a half of survey, side scan, single beam of Port of Miami. We processed the data. Remember Isaac? We processed the data literally in the op center, and Chet was looking on our shoulders. The captain of the port was doing exactly the same thing Chet did. We reopened that port just like that. Now I'm going to the Florida Harbor Pilots meeting next week on March 20th. They have all the Florida Harbor Pilots, Miami, Key West, Canaveral, Jacksonville, Port Everglades, Tampa, went and talked to the governor's office 3 weeks ago and the director of Florida EMS and said, we want to buy the equipment these guys were using and we want to have it with us so that when we get hit, we can put our pilot launches to work as survey assets, and these guys can fly in and then go ahead and run the equipment and produce the results. Governor's Office, Director of Florida EMS said, no ifs, ands, or buts, buy them, send us the check, we'll reimburse you. So we're going to have every one of these ports with their pilot groups that are essentially going to be buying these mobile and easily transportable survey systems that are going to essentially be exactly what we use. We're going to then have every one of these. A 70-foot pilot boat, like I just showed you, that's a $4 million boat, with a pilot launch driver that has no other job but driving that channel and driving that port, and with a pilot that has probably been there 20 or 30 years. So we're going to have one of the most experienced, most capable vessels and crew helping us do the surveys, just like we would Port Fourchon Harbor Police. So those are the kind of lessons I want to impart, in the fact that we can start coordinating with Harbor Police and Fourchon rather than trying to stagger our way down through floodwaters on LA1 with Hurricane Isaac. I mean, imagine if Grand Isles Road, which cratered, imagine that that was LA1, and we couldn't get down to LA1 because it basically just washed the road out. This time around, we could have the equipment down there with the boats ready to go. One way or another, we could actually fly in, drop down onto the port, get on the boats, and actually be doing the survey before you even have the roadway actually reopen. And Henri is already working on the roadway issue, so you've already got a game plan for that as well. Why? Because whatever happens here, remember Katrina, remember the pump prices, the gas pump prices across the country with all that refining that was shut down. It doubled or even tripled in terms of pump price. This is Florida. This is miles of people lined up at a gas station, out of gas. They don't know when the gas truck's showing up. And they had a line over 2 miles long just sitting there waiting for a truck to show up.
Tim, I don't mean to cut you off, but we have some more business to
We're
get
done.
to. So
This is the last thing.
Okay, thank you.
So in terms of connecting that to the port is exactly what it is. I look forward to more hurricane preparedness with you. You've got everything you need in place that I think has been lessons learned from other places, and we look forward to when you want to meet in person, we'll be here. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Tim. And look, Noah is always here with us for storms. Whenever we're taking, as he said, whenever we're taking one on the chin, they're here with us and ready to survey the channels and everything. So we'll be discussing as we get closer towards hurricane season as well, keeping in touch. Thank you, Tim, for being here and for the presentation.
Thank you, Tim.
Thank you.
Okay, under public comment, I know our DA is here, Ms. Christine Russell, and I think she would like to speak, so thank you for being here.
Absolutely. Good morning, and thank you all for allowing me to come here briefly and just reintroduce myself. Again, my name is Christine Russell. I am the district attorney. I'm also the director of the Children's Advocacy Center of Lafourche, and I am running for district attorney. As you all are aware, early voting started on Saturday, March 10th, and will run through March 17th, and the special election will be on March 24th. And this is a very important election for the residents of Lafourche Parish. As I've said many, many times throughout these past 5 months, the district attorney's office does not belong to one person. It belongs to you. It belongs to the residents of Lafourche. And what do you want in your district attorney? And what do you want in your office? And I respectfully submit to you that the choice is extremely clear. I am the only candidate who's ever walked into a courtroom and tried a jury case. I am the only candidate who's ever tried and convicted a murderer, a rapist, a child molester, and a drug trafficker. I am the only candidate who's ever issued opinions to parish government. I'm the only candidate who's ever stood in front of a grand jury and indicted an individual and presented cases. I am the only candidate who has ever walked into a classroom, prepared a program, and attempted to make our community better by being proactive in our schools. I am the only candidate who's not only prepared, but proven to do the job because I've done it. For 15 years, I've worked extremely hard to learn every aspect of that office so that one day I can stand in front of a group of people, much like yourself and the residents, and ask for your support for district attorney. I am the only candidate who can move this parish forward and not backward. I thank you so much for allowing me to be here today and just reintroduce myself and encourage everyone to go out and vote this week, and if not, on March 24th. I apologize that I cannot stay for the entirety of the meeting, but I do have another appointment, but I thank all of you so much. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Christine.
And that concludes my report, Mr. President. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chiasson. Next is committee reports, and we start off with executive committee members are Perry just declared chairman, Larry Griffin, Chucky Sherman, John Mendelson Jr. First on the agenda is consider approving the Wisner intrusive access agreement for Fouchon Island.
Okay, this is for the saw borings that we need to do for the Fouchon Island area. We do have the permit in hand, and this is an access agreement that we're going to approve, and then Wisner is supposed to approve it at the end of the month at their meeting, so it'll allow us to actually go and do the saw borings.
Move. Second.
Moved by Mr. Mendelson, second by Mr. Bruce. Any discussion? Any public comment? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carried. Next is consider approving the advertisement for summer employment.
Okay, as we do every year, we're going to advertise for 6 roustabout positions for summer employment for college students, and recommendation to approve. Thank you.
Moved by Mr. Pierce, second by Mr. Gisclair. Any discussion? Any public comment? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carried. Next, to consider approving the request from Falcon Global for a short-term mooring agreement in Flotation Canal.
Okay, this is formerly Montco, and it's for a location to put 2 lift boats if and when necessary for short
Moved by
term.
Mr. Goudet, second by Mr. Sheremy. Any discussion? Any public comment? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carried. Next is consider approving the amendment to BJ Service Baker Hughes lease GLF 403.
Okay, this is a cleanup amendment to the lease to get some of the property lines straight based on a recent survey.
Move.
Moved by Mr. Melanson, second by Mr. Bruce. Any discussion? Any public comment? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carried. Next is consider approving the request from Omni Energy Services to sublease a portion of site GLF 625 to Heritage Environmental Services LLC.
Okay, this is a section on Omni's new site that they would like to sublease, like you said, to Heritage Environmental Services, a 100 by 100 foot section.
Moved by Mr. Griffin, second by Mr. Sheremy. Any discussion? Any public comment? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carried. Next, to consider approving the request from American Integration Contractors to terminate the additional office space at the Port Complex.
Okay, currently AIC has 2 offices rented. They really didn't use that second office, so they want to terminate the lease there, and they will continue to have the initial office space that they are currently using.
Moved by Mr. Gisclair, second by Mr. Pierce. Any discussion? Any public comment? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carried. Next is consider approving the amendment to the hay lease at the Lafourche Industrial Park.
Okay, the current hay lease expires at the end of this month, and the recommendation is to approve the amendment to add, to extend this lease.
Move.
Moved by Mr. Griffin.
Second.
Second by Mr. Pierce. Any discussion? Any public comment? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carried. Next, we move into Permits and Waterways Committee, and members are Chucky Sheremy, Chairman, Larry Griffin, Perry Gisclair, and Curtis Pierce. Mr. Sheremy.
Thank you, Mr. President. The only permit we have today is Bollinger Fouchon, proposed maintenance dredging of a slip repair facility dry dock for access. Approximately 21,850 cubic yards of dredge material will be either used or filled material in a nearby existing canal or used disposed at an off-site location in non-wetlands area. That's all we have, Mr. President.
Thank you very much, Mr. Sheremy. Next, we move into Construction and Development Committee. Members are Irvin Bruce, Chairman, Larry Griffin, Perry Gisclair, and Ronnie Gisclair. Mr. Bruce.
Thank you, Mr. President. Consider accepting the clear lien certificate from Sea Level Construction for GLF 625 Site Improvements Project.
Okay, as you heard, that project is complete. It was a $879,613 project. Recommendation to approve clearly.
Moved by Mr. Pierce, second by Mr. Gode. Any discussion? Any public comment? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
Mr. President, this includes my report, sir. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Bruce. Next, we move into Finance Committee. Members are John Mellison Jr., Chairman, Jimmy Guidry, Chris Gode, and Perry Jusclair. Mr. Mellison.
Mr. President, we need to get Mr. Bruce some more work. Good morning and thank you. First, we'll consider approving payments of February 2018 invoices and recognizing those over $10,000. We'll begin by item 1, Crosby Dredging, LLC, $1,630,874.54, and that's for Slip C Phase 3 bulkhead. Item 2, Magnolia Dredge and Dock, LLC, $266,294.90, and that's for the LA1 Phase 2 mitigation dredge near the Express on-ramp. 3, GIS Engineering, $173,686.16, and that is for the integrated feasibility study. Item 4, Southland Dodge, $90,869.15, and that is for the acquisition of 3 2018 Ram trucks for the Harbor Patrol. Item 5, Sea Level Construction, $76,936.99, and that's for Slip C 939 linear feet of west bulkhead, and also GLF 625 site improvements. Item 6, Epic Aviation, $46,212.23. That is for the fuel truck rental and fuel for resale at the airport. Item 7, American Integration Contractors, $41,290.27. That is for radar relocation, network, and information security support. Item 8, Piciola and Associates, $38,147.75, and that is for Slip C, 1,671 linear feet of bulkhead, conceptual design for Fouchon Bridge, boathouse permit at Nerby Collins Marina, and general engineering. Item 9, Sun Industries, $34,358.08, and that is for the airport lighting project. Item 10, Angelette Piciola, $26,352.40, and that is for the GLF 625 site improvements, the Minus Jeremy Road paving, the LA1 Phase 2 mitigation, and Slip C 939 linear feet of west bulkhead. Item 11, Vision Communications, $25,273.85, and that is for phone, internet, and cable services. Item 12, Grand Isle Shipyard Incorporated, $20,782.82, and that is for contract labor at the FBO. Item 13, Water Institute of the Gulf, $18,336, and that is for screening of dredging alternatives. Item 14, Motorola, $14,320.18, and that is for radio equipment. Item 15, Bank of America, $12,872.45, and that's monthly credit card charges. Item 16, Duplantis Design Group, $12,382.01, airport lighting project. Item 17, E&L Enterprise, $11,181.76, piling repair and removal of the Lake Rakassee light. And last, we have to go more than one page this month. We have J. Wayne Plaisance, $10,261.45, and that's for Slip D hydraulic dredging and general engineering, bringing a total with these and along with the other expenditures for $3,191,662.83. And Mr. President, I'd like to make a motion we accept these expenditures.
Moved by Mr. Monoson, second by Mr. Bruce. Any discussion? Any public comment? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carried.
Next, we have consider approving the Laporte CPA audit engagement agreement and agreed upon procedures.
Okay, that's for our audit and the agreed-upon procedures review as well. So recommendation is to approve so we can get that done.
Move.
Moved by Mr. Monoson, second by
Second.
Mr. Jeremy. Any discussion? Any public comment? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carried.
And last, we have consider approving out-of-state travel and training. We're going to have Executive Director Chasson and up to 3 commissioners to be determined to attend the Gulf Ports Association of the Americas Spring Meeting in Texas, May 2nd through the 4th. And we also have Director Chasson and External Relations Managers Johnny Tuck attending the Offshore Technologies Conference in Texas, April 30th through May the 3rd. And I'd like to make a motion we accept these out-of-state travel and training requests.
Moved by Mr. Monoson, second by Mr. Pierce. Any discussion? Any public comment? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carried.
I'd like to do a shout out to Miss Lindsay Rista for stepping in as CFO while Miss Miranda was out. And Mr. President, this concludes the financial report.
Thank you, Mr. Monoson. Any other business? Any public comment?
Mr. President, I'll make a motion, we adjourn because I can't take our director's suit no more.
Moved by Mr. Jeremy, second by Mr. Gisclair. Any discussion? Any public comment? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carried. I almost asked for unanimous second.
I'll remember to wear it next month.
Thank each and every one of you for coming. Thank you.